Welcome back. Bow, 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 bow.
Yeah, hey, I'm Zoe. I am from Nashville, but I got bored of Nashville, so moved to Chicago like a year and a half ago. And I do all the things here. I'm always like out walking the lakefront trail and love to stay busy. Recently got into Pilates. I work in influencer marketing. I help Hannah, like she mentioned. Love that we have kind of created this like personal friendship because it makes like my job so much easier. And then I also work at an agency on the brand side. And so I think like that's a really fun and unique role that I get to play because I have kind of gotten to see all the different ways in which influencer marketing plays out. And I love the internet girls. I am chronically online, but it helps having a podcast to listen to and get some updates and feel like I am in a conversation. So yeah.
Also, I just have to say, you guys, Zoe's a huge Swiftie, and Zoe has met the queen herself, Mother, like many times. 4 times.
Okay, here's the thing. I am from Nashville. And so when I met Taylor, she was not Taylor Swift. Like she was just like Taylor down the street. Like we're talking Fearless was on the radio. And like when I met Taylor Swift, like it was when she was launching her perfume brand and came to like the mall in my town. She played at my high school. So like when I was meeting Taylor Swift, like I wasn't meeting like the queen that she is today. I was meeting her in like the beginning.
But why is that even cooler? Like, honestly.
The glow up I have had since that, the picture, the glow up I've had.
No, I'm obsessed. Like Zoe, there was just this one day that Zoe just randomly started telling me about all the celebrities she's met in Nashville. And she was just sending me pictures of her with like Taylor, Justin Bieber. Like, I was like, who are you?
Nick Jonas. And it's just like fun when like people will drop things in conversation. Like, I love this person. I'm like, oh yeah, I ran into them on the street once. Like actually when I was leaving Nashville, when I was moving out of the city, I ran into a celebrity every single day. Like
That's
it was
crazy.
Kenny Chesney, I think. I get all the country singers mixed up, but just like sitting at Bar Taco, like, and I'm at my goodbye brunch with my best friend, and we're like so emotional. And we look over, and there's like 8 people being like, "Can we get a picture with you, Kenny?"
Oh my God, that's so wild. Wait, will you tell us the one Taylor Swift story that you were telling me where you went to her concert and then you just like randomly ran into her? Because that's like actually my dream.
This is like lucky girl syndrome, but like on steroids. I'm the original lucky girl. So in high school, like I just had this mentality of like, it'll all work out. And so I didn't have much money. Tickets went on sale, couldn't afford it. And like, this was at the time where it was like not cool to be a Taylor Swift fan. Like you were getting made fun of if you liked Taylor Swift. And I was like, I don't care. I love her. But again, didn't have the money to go to her show, but the mentality, it's all going to work out. And so day of the concert, my dad is like, we're talking, and he's an incredible man. And he was like, why are you sad? And I was like, well, Taylor Swift's concert is today. And like, I just really want to go. And so he gets on Craigslist at the time before Craigslist was like super sketchy.
Yeah.
And so he's on Craigslist and he finds these $50 tickets, and it was $50 total. I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't think it was $50 each. Like, I think it was total. And at this point, the show is starting in an hour and a half. I don't have time to call a friend. So I'm like, hey, little brother, like he's 4 years younger than me. Like he's in middle school at the time. I'm like, let's go to Taylor Swift. And he's like, oh, that's so lit. And I was like, I don't care. I'm not going alone. So we go to a random gas station, pick up the tickets, and like there's no fear in my mind. And then we get to the gate and my brother's like, what if these are fake? And I was like, they're not going to be fake. But
so confident.
We walk up, we show our tickets, they scan, and I like took a deep breath and was like, okay, I was right. We get on the elevator. So in Nashville, like Bridgestone Arena, like we get on, there's this one long giant elevator, takes you all the way to the top. We get all the way to the top because I have just made the assumption that is where our seats are. Like for $50, like I just assumed we're at the very top. So they're like, oh no, you need to go down to this private elevator and go to this access level. We're in the Tennessean is like the newspaper, and we're in the Tennessean suite. This girl had won the tickets, didn't want them, and so she sold them. Smart businesswoman. So I am freaking out. It's like free food, incredible. John, my younger brother, has a friend who's sweet. Their family has a box who is like directly on the other side of the arena. So we are like, okay, the opener's on. Let's go see them real quick. We'll come back before the show starts. So we're going, and like, you know how like arenas work, like you're going from one side to the other. And I see this guy who like volunteers at my church growing up, and he like goes to hug me, which was kind of strange because we weren't on that level, but he goes to hug me, and I realize like, oh, he's working security, and he whispers in my ear, "Stay here for 2 more minutes. Just don't move for 2 more minutes." And I was like, okay. And in the next 2 minutes, like all these security guards start coming, and the elevator doors just like open, and Taylor Swift just like walks out, and me and my younger brother, and like this is before like iPhones were like iPhones, and so I have no photo evidence of this happening. I have no video. I have nothing to prove this other than my brother to back me up. And she walks out. Taylor Swift herself gives me a hug and thanks me for coming to her show, and is like, "You have no idea how much it means to me that you're here. Like, thank you so much. Like, I'm so grateful that you're here." And like, it's just me and my brother. There's nobody else besides us and like the security guards. And it was just this like magical moment of like, I just met my queen. Like, I just met, yeah.
Private meet and greet.
I met her less than a week later, and she remembered me and was like, "Weren't you at my show?" And I was like, "Queen!" Like, you have no idea. Like, when people say Taylor Swift like knows her fans and remembers, like, I don't understand how, but she does. Like, she remembered me a week later and was like, "I met you."
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That is insane. That is like, you just have the best fun fact ever.
That's so true. Yeah. And Justin Bieber follows me on Twitter. So anytime I need a fun fact about myself, that's my go-to. It's like, I don't know, Justin Bieber follows me on Twitter.
Incredible.
I was confident, and I wrote it on a piece of paper and slid it to him when I met him. Yeah. That's like,
Justin would so be all over that. I could see him being like, "Hell yeah, like I'm gonna follow you."
Don't go look at how many people he follows, because it's actually a lot. I'm in that number. Have I tweeted in the last 10 years? No. Do I look once a month? Yes.
Hey, doesn't matter.
That's so funny. Oh my God, you're such a queen. I can't believe you ever left Nashville, knowing like, I mean, if Taylor Swift ever saw you, she'd be like, "Hey, bestie, let's go shopping."
True. The luck didn't stop. I've run into multiple celebrities here in Chicago.
Really?
Just like out, I don't go out like that much, but my apartment my first year was downtown, and one night we were like, let's go to karaoke, and Tom Sandoval was there, just like one person in front of me, and I'm like not a Bravo like huge a huge Bravo girly. I've watched some of the stuff. My roommate was, but she like flipped out when I told her. And I did get a picture with him. And this was like right after everything went down. And some people got on the karaoke mics and were chanting, not in his favor.
My God. Okay, are you watching Traitors?
No, but I need to, because although I'm a little bit upset, I have been a Dylan Efron fan for years. Like, he is gorgeous.
Who is that?
Zac Efron's brother.
And he is like,
he's not a brother.
I know, and he's hot.
Kind and like healthy, and like he is just like, he's just nice, like all around. I have followed him for years and years, and now people are like obsessing about him and finding out my like secret crush.
Oh man, Tori and I were literally just talking about Traitors before we got on, because Tori's not watching. I'm like recruiting everyone to watch.
Like, what is it about?
It's like a game of Clue. It's like there are like 3 or 4 or however many people are like the traitors, and nobody knows who they are. And every night they like murder someone, and then that person has to leave the show. And then every day, like, they get to try and figure out who a traitor is to like kick them off. But Tom Sandoval is on this season, and I haven't watched Vanderpump Rules, although it is on the docket, but I didn't realize how obsessed I would be with Tom Sandoval. Like, he is so funny on the Traders, and I don't know how he is in any other context, but like, it's John's favorite person on Traders. Like, at the very beginning of the show, like, everyone gets blindfolded, and that's when they choose the Traders. And like, as soon as they're like, all right, take off your blindfolds, he like rips his off, and he's like crazy eyes, like looking around the room. And he just does that in every scene. Like, every time you see him, it's hilarious. And I'm like, I need to get into Vanderpump Rules like right away, because this guy is a king.
Yeah.
He's so intense.
Like, in person too, he has this intensity about him.
I'm not surprised.
He's so crazy though. Like, I'm not a huge I am a huge Bravo person when it comes to Housewives, but I'm not when it comes to like any of the other Bravo shows. And he, like, I did, whenever all the like Bravo Scandival things went down, I like was in it because I'm just an internet girl through and through. I was listening to like all of the things. I watched a few episodes just to familiarize myself, and I just can't get past like what he did.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I don't know what he did, so I just think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the lore around him. Like, don't even tell me, because that's gonna be my like postpartum show, Vanderpump
Yeah.
Rules.
I was gonna say, we'll tell you after you watch Traders, after the season's over.
I
Only,
just
like,
love
Bravo
him.
show- The only Bravo show I've really gotten into is Summer House, and only because of Paige DeSorbo.
Oh, I love her. Even though I'm so sad about her and Craig Briggan. Like, I can't even listen to that episode of her podcast, Giggly Squad, because like I don't want to, like, I just want to pretend that they're still together in my head.
I will say though, the episode, like, as a 30-year-old, like, just turned 30 in August, I'm single, like, living in a new city, like, that episode was revolutionary. Like, she just said like some incredible stuff where she was like, some people, like, we're all in this time period where we're like looking at everyone else being like, oh, they have it all together and I don't. And she was like, nobody has it all together. Like, some people, yeah, they might know the characters that are going to be in their life the next 5 years, but like they don't have it figured out. They don't have the plan. Like, they don't know what's going to happen. And I was like, I needed that reminder.
I love that.
Yeah.
So tell us, so Zoe, we are old and married. Gross. Tell us, what is single life like these days in a big city like Chicago?
Yeah, I do have a private Instagram story, Tori, I'll have to add you to it,
Yeah.
called Single in the City. And it living, all of my like growing up friends still live in Nashville. And so it was this like concept of how can I give everyone life updates really easily. So I started this channel, and it became like this hit where all of my friends are obsessed now with my updates. So dating, guys, it's hard. It is hard out here.
It looks hard.
People don't talk to each other in the streets, but you go to bars, like, people aren't really talking to each other these days. And whether that's COVID or just like the ways of the world, I don't know, but apps are where I find, like, that's where I have found all of my dates so far. I am trying to start doing these like in-person dating events.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there was one that like, it wasn't necessarily geared like specifically towards dating. It was like a let's make friends kind of thing. And you take a personality quiz, and then you get matched up with a doubles partner for pickleball.
Cute.
And, yeah, so I took the quiz, got matched. So they have them like once a month.
So have you met him yet?
No, not yet. It'll be at the end of February because I couldn't do the January one.
Oh, that's so fun though. Well, I heard Chicago though is still very Midwest, so everyone there is. Which I've been to Chicago a couple times. I love Chicago, other than the fact it's like very cold. So you're
It's 40 degrees today, and people are wearing shorts because like last week it was -5. So
crazy.
It's like Alaska temperatures, -5.
I think when somebody sent me, it was like colder than Antarctica. I can never say Antarctica right. I say Antarctica, but it was colder here than it was there last week because of the wind chill. And I live right on the lake, So
Oh. So tell me why John is such a pussy about the cold, because he grew up there. And when it drops below like 60 here, he's like, I'm frigid. And I'm like, you're such a baby. Like, I don't think it's that cold. I'm from California. Like, why are you so pathetic? I don't know.
yeah. Well, I will say, like, so my parents live in Florida, and when I go down there, I try and go down there for like 2 weeks at a time when I can to escape the cold and to see them, all the things. But whenever I go down there and come back, it's like whatever they say, like your blood thickens or something. I don't know. Whatever like tolerance I've built up to the cold is gone in like the short, when I went home for Christmas and came back,
Wow.
gone.
No, okay, it's funny you say that because one time when Matt and I were living in Alaska, no, not living in Alaska,
I was like, when did you live in Alaska?
we were living in Seattle and we went to Alaska because it was like short flight and we were only there for 5 days, but it was so cold there that when I got back to Seattle, I did not need a jacket for like a month, like a whole entire month. Like I guess my blood was just thick or something.
Yeah, you like
Wow.
build up a tolerance. I don't know. Maybe there's science, maybe there's not, but
No, there has to be. Like I didn't even have to wear like a thick jacket or anything. And Seattle was cold. I
yeah.
just like didn't even need it after being in Alaska for a week.
My favorite is my parents, like in Florida, they'll be like, it's so cold here today. And I have their temperature right below mine. And so when I look at my temperature, I see theirs. And I'm like, Mom, you have no right telling me how cold it is. It's 65.
Yeah.
65 degrees. It's like, it's freezing.
Oh, that's so funny. Where in Florida are they from?
They're in Sarasota. Dad is from Sarasota. Mom is from Gainesville. They moved to Nashville when I was 2 for Dad's job. They always said after after all of their 4 kids graduate, they'll move back home. And so they moved home to Sarasota, which is like an hour south of Tampa.
Yeah, I've been to Sarasota. I have a friend who lives there. I love Sarasota. It's a great time.
Have you been to Siesta Key?
Yeah, yeah.
It is beautiful. I think that's where like we'll go on a little vacay together, guys. And my parents have a boat, so
Well, I'm from Florida originally.
oh, what part?
I'm from the Panhandle.
Okay.
So, Panama City Beach.
Oh yeah,
It's
spent a
beautiful.
lot of time there. Don't remember a lot of time there, but
That's my hometown, so it was very interesting growing up there. And Matt's from Pensacola, so that's where I went to school. That's where we met, which is like 2 hours from there
yeah, I camped on the beach there once.
in Pensacola.
Yeah, there's like in Pensacola, there's some sort of like old fort.
Yeah, Fort Pickens.
Yeah, you can camp there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Can we
Yeah,
all meet up in 30A, please? Because that's where I want to
yeah.
go.
Have you been before?
No.
I've been on at least 6 bachelorette trips to 30A specifically. I've got one coming up in June there. So I'll be our tour guide. I love it
Girl,
there.
that's like my home away from home. Like where I grew up was like 20 minutes from there, so I would literally be there like every week.
Oh,
Yes.
I want to go. It looks amazing. It looks like a dream. It literally looks like the Bahamas, but it's
Yeah.
Florida.
What is it? They call it like the Emerald Coast, right?
My dad lives right on the beach. Like growing up, living on the beach like that, I like whenever people would be like, "Oh, I live on the beach" in other places, I assumed that's what they meant, but no, they mean like 20 minutes, 30 minutes in, and then they drive to the beach. And I'm like, you don't live on the beach.
I'll always say like, oh yeah, my parents live like at the beach, but I won't say on the beach because I think that's, yeah, when people say on the beach, I assume your house is on the sand.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Or like, it, you can say that if you're like 7 minutes away, but not like 20, 30 minutes. I'm like, not really. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well,
So
I don't think we've got a free place to say, Hannah.
Yeah.
what a girl. Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
Hannah, that. Yeah, we should totally.
I want to go.
We'll have like our own little retreat.
Yeah,
That'd be so fun. Tori and I have actually been talking about that for years, like doing some sort of retreat. That would be so fun.
That would be a dream.
Also, like growing up in California, my impression of Florida was there's Miami and there is Orlando, and that is it. And so I've been learning like so much about Florida from Tori, and I'm like, wow, I actually want to go.
Yeah, there's this whole other. Honestly, they should like cut like my part of Florida off, and it should be called something else, and then that's a whole other part of Florida. You know what I mean? Because
I
it
Your part
agree.
is like redneck Florida for sure.
100%. It's like Alabama. You know what I mean? It's right next to Alabama.
Yeah.
It's very southern. I always tell people when I say I'm from Florida, they're like, "Oh," I'm like the weird part though.
You should say the pretty part.
It's gorgeous there.
Because whenever I go to Miami, I'm like, wait, I can't actually like swim here. Like there's too much seaweed and it's kind of gross.
Like even in Key West, there are no beaches. It's surrounded by water, but there's not really beaches.
Yeah, no, I know. I was so disappointed the first time I went to Key West. I was like, okay, let's beach day. And I was like, oh, you like can't. Like you literally can't do that.
That's wild.
You're gonna have to find a boat, like somehow. And yeah, it's just not that easy. I don't know. Florida's a weird place.
It's so weird. I don't know why I'm telling this story, but my mom got bit by a brown recluse this week. So I'll stay out of Florida for a little bit. But yeah, her foot is like not pretty right now.
Oh my God. What is a recluse?
Okay, yeah, this is why we got to stay out of Florida. So a brown recluse specifically, like I don't know if there's like multiple kinds, but a brown recluse, the name like recluse would like they hide. So it was in her shoe, like they hide in dark places, and they like only bite if they feel threatened. So they like it bit her.
It's a spider?
It's a spider.
I just Googled it. Oh my God.
Sorry, I didn't clarify that. It's a spider.
I thought it was like a gerbil.
It's like deadly. Like if you don't get the treatment for it, then you like can have your foot amputated. If you want to see a picture, I'll send it later. She sent it to me and I was like, Mom, that is vile. Like you could have lost your foot.
Yeah, that's petrifying.
I don't love that. All right. Yeah. So I guess we can't go to Florida, you guys. Also, they're like tiny, so they just hide.
Yeah, they just hide.
Ew.
You like don't, if you see a brown recluse, typically you know you have a problem, is what they say, because you're not supposed to, like, they hide. You don't see them.
Ew. I have the heebie-jeebies.
It's scary. You grew up with a healthy fear of those things.
Florida has a lot of bugs.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm from California. Even when I went, like, I lived in, like, Albuquerque for a month, and my best friend lives there, and she's like, oh, yeah, we have, like, a huge cockroach problem. And I was like, I'm sorry? She's like, you'll just have cockroaches in your house. Like, there's no way to prevent it. And I was like, why do you live here? I am vacating the premises. Goodbye.
Yeah, not for me.
Nope.
When a lizard comes into their house, it's game over.
Yeah, no. Couldn't be me. No, we don't have things like that in my house. It doesn't happen.
I feel like, because whenever we lived in Seattle, there's a lot of spiders up in the PNW too, but they're like a different kind of spider. And sometimes California has spiders too, but like not brown recluses.
No, we have a lot of daddy long legs and they're friendly, but I'm still scared of them.
My worst fear is, I think it's called like the wolf spider. Well, it's called the wolf spider, but I can't say that word. But I think it's that one, and it's like big and hairy, and it carries.
I gotta stop Googling this stuff.
Stop Googling. But,
nightmare.
But Google a video of it, because they carry the babies on the back, and so if you like kill the spider, you don't see that it has babies on its back. But if you kill the spider, then they shoot out and go everywhere. I watched a TikTok of it, and now I'm traumatized.
Oh,
I'm nauseous.
Scary.
That is horrible. Also, have you just seen those giant spiders in Australia? What are they called? They're like super poisonous too. And they're like the size of your head.
Yeah. Okay, there's one girl who's like a creator in Australia, and I don't know if it's like satire or not. I cannot figure it out. She's like, she has a name for her spider, and it'll be like in her car with her, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's special effects. And then sometimes I'm like, that looks real.
It's probably real because not California. Australia is like known for having like deadly. Like I could never live there. You lived there.
I lived there. And I'm so arachnophobic.
How long did you live there?
Well, I lived in a city. I was there for 6 months, but I lived in a city. I was in Melbourne. We don't there aren't spiders like that in the cities. But when I did go up to like Cairns and we were like hiking through the jungle, I remember all my friends were making fun of me because I'm so arachnophobic. Like I will break out in hives like if I just see a spider. That's why I need to stop Googling these. And they were like doing things like down my back. And I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And then all of a sudden they were like, no, Hannah, there's a spider on you. And I was like, ha ha ha. And there was a spider on me. And I'll never forget. And I will never forgive. Honestly, that was traumatic. So I just don't go to the outback anymore, is what I've learned. I can go to the cities, not the outback.
So I feel like we haven't really touched too much on your influencer manager role. And I really want to talk about that because it's so interesting and fascinating to me as, someone on the other side. So do you want to like kind of talk about what you do exactly?
Yeah. Yeah. So for Hannah specifically, I can go into that and then talk about my like full-time job too. I reach out to brands on Hannah's behalf, and I'm constantly like looking for new opportunities for her, and kind of like am just an extension of her brand, her personal brand.
Zoe
And
manages my whole life, actually.
I want to. Yeah. I'm like a yes man, so I'm like, bring it on. And I like thrive when I'm busy. So I'm like, give me all the things. But yeah, I think like on that side, like it's a lot of like building relationships and maintaining them. And so like having brand connects where I can say like, for example, like with Hannah's pregnancy, I can like get into her mind of like, oh, this would be a really great brand to pitch to and build this relationship with. That's really fun. And that's kind of like part of the role there. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but I work at Aspire. If you saw me on LinkedIn, like you'd
we
see that.
we saw your mug.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the mug. I love them.
And all influencers love Aspire IQ. Like we all know it. We all love it.
Yeah.
Guys, so I started not too long ago, like in December, and I've had some experiences in my like professional career that have just like not been great. Like I've had some misogynistic men, I've had some like micromanagers. When I tell you that Aspire, like they practice what they preach, they love and like advocate for education. They're constantly like striving for the best, like, and that's in our agency side, on the SaaS side. Like I am blown away as someone who's like, I worked at a brand on and used Aspire on the platform. I have used it on Hannah's behalf. And so I've gotten like all these different pieces of it. And now I'm like behind the scenes working there. And I'm like, this place is unreal in like the best way. Like they care about their creators. They listen and they advocate for like their creators. And so how Aspire works, they have the SaaS and software as a service. I always get that wrong.
Software as a service.
Yeah. You know that because you're in San Francisco. Like,
yeah, I know. Tori's like, what is SaaS? Like,
yeah.
SaaS?
SaaS.
SaaS.
SaaS. So they have like this whole platform that a lot of brands will use. And then they have an agency arm of it. And so I'm in the agency arm and I work with a team where we'll have different brand clients and just get to know like the brand's needs and then act as an advocate there. So a lot of my job on like both working with Hannah and working with the brands is just like getting creative, putting myself into their shoes, advocating on their behalf, and having a lot of fun, honestly.
I'm like dying for you to come visit too, because fun fact, you guys, if you don't know this about me, I worked on the influencer side as well, like on the other side of things. And I actually interviewed with Aspire like years and years ago. And I got to go to their headquarters, which is in San Francisco, like multiple times. What a lovely place. Like just everyone I talked to was so nice. Everyone had their dogs with them, like super dog friendly, super just a happy environment. So I'm like, all right, Zoe, you need to get your booty out here. Come visit headquarters. Like it's so wonderful there. I mean, this was years ago, but I'm sure it's the same. Yeah. And like, what a great place to work. I'm so happy that you're there.
They're genuinely like, we have a shout out channel that people are constantly posting in, like, and it's not, I feel like I've worked at the companies before where it's like, we have these like in the interview process, like we have these initiatives and we have this and we have that, and like they want to sell it to you, and like you join, and then like that layer is peeled back and it's like, oh, like this is like, there's a lot of like things under that like cover here, like there's a
Mm.
lot of like stuff that you were hiding.
Yeah.
With Aspire, like the thing that like I was in between two companies and like totally just, that lucky girl syndrome, like wasn't even looking for a job, was actually helping a friend with her resume, and then applied for two jobs, ended up getting both of the two jobs I applied for, and was in between two companies, two really amazing companies. The reason I went with Aspire, and I'll have to tell her this one day, but the reason I went with Aspire is because in the interview, when I asked about like culture and when I asked about like how the team operates, the head of the agency gave me like some really amazing answers. And then she said, and here are the things that we're working on and that we know we could get better and want to bring people in who can help us and like bring new ideas to these areas. And like for me, that was like mind blowing, like a game changer moment of like, yeah, it's okay for things to not be like perfect all the time. And I think like as an agency, like they understand that personally and professionally, which goes into how they care for the influencers, the creators, the brands, because they can understand like, hey, there's a fire going on in California. Like, we know you can't put your content out today. Hey, we know you live in California. Your house didn't burn down. You weren't personally affected, but you're posting resources and you want to delay your content posting by a few days. Like, okay, like we'll advocate on your behalf to the brand. Like, and I think like in influencer marketing, so in marketing in general, sometimes like you can forget that there's people involved. And I think especially with influencer marketing, and I think like one thing I'm realizing with this company is just how important those relationships are, and then also just like how important it is to listen to the influencer and listen to the brands and really like
Well, also
work
it
together.
sounds like more than anything what you're saying too is that they have like a self-awareness of about like who they are as a company. It's like we're aware that, we're not perfect here and we're trying to strive to better ourselves, which what company does that, It's
Yeah.
it's going to like say, "Hey, here are our shortcomings." Like how cool is that? Like
Yeah. And to be like upfront and honest about it, like I had the offer. This is not good to admit. I had signed the offer with the other company because I was like sold. Like I was like, yeah, this 4-day work week, all these benefits. And then I took the interview because I was like, well, like it's a final round interview. I'll take the interview. And I had to present on it and I was like nervous, but then I heard that, game changer for me. I was like, I want to work with people who acknowledge that like they're not perfect, that nobody's perfect, and like there's grace. And I think like that is just so evident in their whole ethos, and like that is how they operate. And so I cannot say enough good things like from the CEO and founder. Like have gotten to be on some calls with him, and the way that they champion each other is really awesome. And then the way that they champion creators, like it is really cool to work for a company who understands influencer marketing. I
yeah.
have worked at some companies that just didn't understand influencer marketing and didn't understand like these are humans. Like they're not levers to pull.
So, like, what does your day to day look like in your role? Like, what are you doing? Like, taking meetings? Like,
Yeah, I have 4 brands right now that are like my babies, and I get to meet with them once a week, typically, sometimes every other week. So I get to meet with them and hear their needs, kind of like get like, the SOW from them. And then I get to take that and then run with it, put together the whole campaign. So it's kind of funny, like having the both ends. Like I'm helping Hannah get brand deals and then I'm also putting them together, which kind of puts me into that really creative space for you to be like, oh, this is what a brand is going to be looking for.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, it's been awesome like to learn the experience. But I guess day to day, like it's kind of different every day, but I do like time blocking of like I'm working on this brand for this amount of time and have like specific needs. Really like a lot of my job is project management, just making sure like we're hitting our deadlines. We have the most amazing campaign associates who are like the magic behind the scenes, who are like the ones communicating with the influencers. They're like setting up the briefs, they're answering all the questions, all that kind of stuff. So like I get to help project manage with them, like, hey, troubleshooting, did anything come up? So day to day, very different every day, which I love, but it's a lot of like putting campaigns together and executing them.
So are you actually the one finding and like sourcing the influencers and presenting them to the brands?
Sometimes it's usually a team effort, but yes, like I'll spend a good, I enjoy doing it. So I
Yeah.
spend a good amount of time like searching. And plug for Aspire, if you're a brand who needs an influencer marketing tool, Aspire's like creator searching features are awesome. And then on the other side, for the creator, if you're a creator who needs brand deals, any brand on Aspire can put a brand deal into what they call the marketplace. And so a creator can log into their portal in the marketplace and can see like, oh, here's a paid campaign I can apply to. Here's the criteria that they're looking for. Here's the perks of what I would get. So on both ends, it's really cool.
Yeah. I think we've both done deals on Aspire for
Mhm.
years now. Like, I feel like they're like the gold standard, what would you call it? Third party marketing middleman. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Tori and I have been talking a lot about like the TikTok ban, the 16-hour TikTok ban, but also like how that's been impacting the industry. Have you like seen a change since like it's so up in the air right now and we still don't really know like what's going on with TikTok? Like are people like veering away from wanting to do partnerships on TikTok?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Working like as like someone who is talking to a lot of brands, I think like there's just a lot of fear in the industry right now. And not every brand is veering away from TikTok, but I think like one shift we saw come out of 2024 was long-term partnerships. And so it is hard to have a long-term partnership when the platform is up in the air. So I know we have like this extension, but I think like a lot of people are just a little like it's just it's an uneasy, it's a fearful time. And so I would say people are really diversifying. I mean, Aspire, like you just said, like the gold standard, they're revolutionizing. They just rolled out YouTube Shorts are now on the platform. So I think a lot of brands are looking at how can they diversify what platforms they're on.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've gotten a few things wanting to pivot to YouTube Shorts. And I'm like, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, John told me the other day that he watches YouTube shorts and I was like, "What?" Like I didn't even realize that people were on there watching shorts. Like I was like, "Who are you?" Like something I don't know about you. Like how weird.
And I think like that's where like it really has to make sense for the brand. Like there's some brands that it's like that doesn't make sense for you. Your demographic is not spending hours on YouTube. But if you're like I'm just gonna use gaming for example. Like if you're a gaming brand, that makes sense. Like that makes sense for you to be on YouTube. If you're a makeup brand, like that makes sense for you to be on YouTube. Because yeah, I think it's like more people than we realize spend time on YouTube.
I've been really trying to pivot to YouTube because like TikTok has always been my main platform, and this TikTok ban really affected me. Like I have a lot of long-term partnerships and they all like are on TikTok. So and there are some like Instagram posts that are like syndicated through that, but like they all got put on hold. And then they were like, let's just see. And then it was like January was just pretty much a wash
Yeah.
because of that. And then now that they've come back, they've all kind of pivoted more towards Instagram heavy. And then also my rate's not the same because like my Instagram is just not the same as my TikTok, you know? So it's been a lot for me personally. And I'm noticing in my inbox, most of my partnerships coming through are Instagram.
I would say to expect that for the next few months at least, especially as we get closer to the end of it, like whatever happens. But I would say in a lot of the conversations I've been having, like people are switching to be, and what they'll do, I think, if they don't want to rule out TikTok altogether, they'll do like your main deliverable is an Instagram reel, and then
Yeah.
additionally like a
Mm-hmm.
syndicated to TikTok versus TikTok syndicated to Instagram.
Yeah.
But the rates, that is a challenge.
Yeah. I'm like, but wait.
And would you say your rates on Instagram are higher or lower than TikTok?
Oh, definitely lower because I
Okay.
only have like 30,000 followers on Instagram and I have like 160K on TikTok, and most of my community is TikTok. It's all been like built on TikTok. So I just recently started even posting to Instagram. Like mainly any of my followers that I have on Instagram were like trickled over from my TikTok following, besides like maybe 10K of them that I had before TikTok.
Tori gets misunderstood on Instagram.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I just don't really like Instagram, to be honest. I don't like there's so much about it I don't like. I don't like how you can't just like get on there and like say whatever like you can on TikTok. You can just grab your phone and just say like whatever. Like for instance, I made a joke whenever the TikTok ban happened, or I tried to make a joke. I was like, "Hey," I was trying to like personify the apps, and I was just trying to be funny, which I should just leave that to the comedians. I'm not a comedian. I'm not even that funny. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just trying to personify the apps, and I was like, if Instagram were an app, it would be like, dressed up and like, a little insecure maybe and whatever. And so I said that, and I was like, if this is your favorite app, you should go to Pinterest because TikTok's banned and we're gonna be here for a minute. And I was saying like maybe go to Pinterest. Pinterest is a little bit of a snooze, like I even refer to him as like he, you know what I mean? But anyways, people were thinking that I was saying that the people of Instagram were insecure, and that's not what I was saying. I was saying like if it were like a person, and I didn't say
Yeah.
like if it were a person, but that's like I was saying like he or like she. So I thought it was implied, like if I would have posted that on TikTok, they would have gotten me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Like Instagram is insecure because everything somebody else does better, Instagram's like, oh, like we'll do that now. We'll
Yeah.
do stories.
I know.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just like the content on there is so much more fake. Like you go on TikTok and it's like relatable. Like I get, thank you. Like yes, I relate to you. And then you go on Instagram and it's like, and this is my perfect house and I have my perfect hair done and I do my makeup every day and I am perfect. And it's like, I don't want to see that. Like we're not in that era anymore. This is not 2016. Like show me relatability.
Yeah, no, totally. Hey, you know what else I'm finding, Zoe? I just said Zoe.
That's my real name. I don't tell people that, but I like have started ever since moving to Chicago. I've been like, oh, by the way, my real name is Zoe.
Really?
Oh,
You didn't know that, Hannah?
No.
Oh, oops. No.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
oh,
You met me in my Nashville era?
I did.
Yeah.
that's you. So now, what should I say? Should I do Zoe or Zoe?
It's like a preference thing. So my real name is Zoe. Nobody calls me Zoe unless they're like I would say my close friends do, and then
Huh.
I don't even know what my family does. Like
they go back and forth.
they go back and forth. Yeah.
Well, then I'll see whatever I'm feeling in the moment.
Yeah. Whatever.
I feel like you're feeling Zoe. That's what you've been saying, Tori.
So I was just telling Hannah this. Something that I've been noticing, particularly on TikTok, is there's so many people who I know from different eras of my life in different cities who I knew were interested in like content creation, but like never did anything about it. But ever since the TikTok ban, ever since it came back, they're like, this is my moment. And they're like creating so much content and like trying to like post and like be trying to like do something, which is good for them. I'm so happy for them. But it's just like an observation that I've noticed, not even from people I know, but other people like who are like just starting out and are like, oh, now that the TikTok ban is back, like I'm gonna do it. And I've noticed so much content.
Okay, that's interesting. I just chalked it up to my algorithm must have been different because I was like, okay, these girls from my high school, I never saw their videos before the ban, and now after the ban, all of a sudden I'm like, this girl, this girl, this girl, like probably I would say 6 of them that just like constantly come up on my For You page now. That I'm like, go off, girl. Like love this moment for
Get
you.
your bag.
Yeah, but I guess I didn't even think about going to look and see historical data of
Yeah.
were they posting before the ban or not. I just assumed, oh, my algorithm must be different.
No, that's
Hmm.
like what it is. I like seriously study things like this because I don't know. It's just I guess I'm obsessed. I don't know.
You
I'm
better
just
use some of your time than what I do and study.
so it's just something I've noticed, and I'm like, this is crazy. But I feel like it's messing with my views. So like, I love that for you guys. But if you're not gonna stick with it, then
Yeah. Do you know you have 30 minutes?
if you want to give it a go, do it. I'm all for
But
it.
also maybe try on Instagram because that will probably be around longer. RIP.
What do you think, Zoe? Do you think it's
So
gonna like? What do you think the band's gonna happen again in after 75 days or?
No, I mean, this is like a personal. This is not a professional opinion. This is totally personal. I think I think it was interesting that Meta created accounts on TikTok the day the ban happened. And I think the wording of the ban was very interesting. And I think there's some psychology things. Again, this is totally personally, these are my opinions. I think that someone's going to swoop in and save the day some way, like shape or form.
I think so too.
Do you think Meta bought it?
That is a rumor I've heard. The timing of when they created their accounts was suspicious. Like they created accounts the day it gets banned, and
Yeah.
then Zuckerberg is out there like doing all sorts of stuff like the day
So
it gets
I was like buying into that theory as well, but I watched Hank Green's video on it. I think I sent it to you, Tori, and how he was talking about like how these conspiracy theories get spread and like how it's extraordinarily unlikely that that actually happened and like the science behind like how these big companies work and stuff. And now I'm like convinced that that didn't happen, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it could still like be in the works.
But you know what I thought was really interesting is whenever TikTok came back, the first thing I saw was an Instagram ad on TikTok. And I was like, that is so weird. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was allowed. And then I went on Instagram, and the first thing I saw were the two biggest TikTok influencers had Instagram partnerships for like create on Instagram.
I
Trying
mean,
to make
I'm sure that Meta was like trying to profit off of this. Like, I'm
yeah,
sure they were like, okay, well, this app is super volatile. Like, let's get people over to Instagram now
yeah,
because nobody knows what's going on and nobody knows where to go. And like going to apps like Rednote, YouTube, like Blue Sky, like everyone's just kind of like doesn't know where to go. So they were like, let's capitalize on this and like, let's get people over to Instagram.
yeah.
What they didn't expect was that people are like literally protesting them.
Yeah.
So
Was it crazy for you, like on the brand side and stuff? Like, I'm sure there were probably campaigns that were in due dates and stuff.
Yeah, that was not my favorite Friday that I've ever had. Any creator that had an active contract, we did have to go in and like write amendments for. But what was interesting is like you don't want to be like you want to be proactive, but you don't want to be reactive, but you don't want to be like like you don't. And so a lot of our wording had to do with like we don't know what's going to happen. Quite literally nobody knows what's going to happen. And so like writing terms for like the unknown is very interesting, and it just like we waited until the last second because again you don't want to be reactive, but you don't want to like
Not do
ring
anything.
some alarm and like sound a bell that's like we're canceling all partnerships. And so we just kind of did like a
Yeah.
and so it was a lot of communicating to our brands, our agency partners, our talent, like communicating to everyone like, hey, we're right here with you. Like we don't know what's going to happen, but here's like some things that we can do. And so like just like your brands were reaching out to you trying to be creative, like we had to do a lot of that too.
Mm.
Were the brands kind of freaking out, or how did they feel, or were they like pretty chill?
The brands were pretty chill. I think the biggest thing is like they just want to know that like we know what we're doing and also like are being proactive. So I think to them, like as long as we said, hey, we have a plan, they were fine. And so like it was all hands on deck. Another like amazing thing about Aspire is like every single person was involved in like how can we best support our brands and creators
Yeah,
through
that's
this like very unknown time. Like it's not a fun time for you guys like as creators who are like this is your livelihood, this is your income, and like to us like we have to hold space for that. We have to hold your finger in these tough times. Thank you for so yeah, I think the brands like they were like I mean, they're the ones with the budgets being affected, and so they're the ones like their content's being affected. But I think like from an agency side, like as long as we can assure them that we are taking care of them, they were okay.
yeah, that's cool.
That's good.
So I have a question about your job and your role. So is it like a brand is coming to you with like, hey, we have this like whole marketing plan. We need to find influencers and you guys facilitate it? Or is it like, hey, we don't know what we want to do for spring, but we have this budget. Will you guys like come up with a plan for us? Or is it some of both?
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both. We have some brands that come to us and our sales team works with them like to figure out their needs and then figure out like what is going to be best. And you know, we would never promise something we can't like deliver on. And so I have some brands that it's like, hey, we for 1 month just need a little bit of help with sourcing and getting this program launched. Some it's like, hey, we need you to take this ambassador program, this seeding program, and just do it and run it. Some we're signed on with like for a full year. And then some it's like 3 months, like, hey, let's just see how Q1 goes. So I think that's another awesome thing about working with an agency is that like we are like malleable. We can adjust to what the needs of the brand are. But I would say like first step is figuring out the needs of the brand. And so our sales team kind of takes that, but they work with agency partners to be like, what's feasible, what's realistic, what can we promise, what
So
can we
are
deliver?
you guys though ever coming up with like the briefs yourself? Like the
Mm-hmm.
creative briefs with so you guys will like work with the brand and come up together with the brief. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
we have a brief template. They fill it out. It gives us all that we need to know. And then we take that and create a brief. Some brands are like on it. They want to be involved. They want to help with every stage of it. They'll give us the full creator brief.
mhm,
But like we, for the most part, I would say like are creating the brief, guidelines,
mhm.
all that.
Oh, cool.
That's
That's
such a cool job.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's awesome. Like cannot recommend enough. Feel free to connect, you know, anyone who's listening, connect with me on LinkedIn. Like I over the summer was having a tough time in like personal professional life and someone just put in a group I'm in, they put like, hey, I'm willing to be a mentor if anyone needs one. And so I just like hopped on a call with her and she looked over my resume and like the call itself was just enough to get the ball rolling, the momentum, and like hearing somebody else on their journey is definitely like a passion for me of like, hey, let's find your strengths. Let's find like and in those low moments, like I know Hannah, we've had like some together of like, hey, this isn't going how we want it to. How can we like pivot? Like how can we get creative? How can we find other opportunities? How can we like
Yeah.
so I think that's one of my like favorite things about the industry is like we all support each other.
I love that. We'll definitely include Zoe's. I'm like, I don't know what to call you anymore. We'll include your LinkedIn in the show notes in case anyone wants to reach out to you and then Instagram as well. But I love that. I think once you like really get started in a field, it's nice to mentor other people and kind of like give back. And I definitely felt that as well. Like on the influencer journey and also when I was like more in corporate, like I needed so much mentorship. I was like, when can I start to give back a little bit?
Yeah, and you do such a good job of like giving back to so many creators. Like even your yearly wraps I think are great. Just like the more transparency we have in our industry, like the better on
It's so
all
important.
fronts.
I
Yeah.
know. I wanted to do my yearly like wrap about like how much money I made or whatever, but I felt I got like mixed reviews on if I should do it or not, and I didn't want. I don't know. I talked to you, Hannah, about this.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I said you should do it, but like I think what people, I don't know, I've always gotten really good feedback about this. And for those of you listening, I do like an annual transparency report at the end of every year where I share like how much I've made as a working influencer that year. And it just fluctuates so much. And so I think it's really helpful for people to see like, oh, people aren't just out here like making a massive amount of money. Like, Tori, you're not making millions, you know? And I feel like people sometimes have this idea of like either influencers like who don't have like a million followers are making no money, or they're all making like a shit ton of money. And so it's nice to be like, let's be transparent about this. Like we all need to talk about how much money we're making because it's such an unregulated field.
I
Yeah.
know, and I really wanted to, but I got so many people saying that I shouldn't, and I
Mm.
also was like very confused by that. I'm like, but why? Like, what's the big deal? Like, you
Yeah,
know?
I'm
Yeah.
interested because I'm thinking like even I'm trying to put myself in the brand side of things. Like as long as you're not like
I'm not saying who
saying
or
who paid
Yeah.
you what, like I think from a brand side, like that would not be that is the least red flag thing
Yeah.
I would see.
I've also had brands comment on it and they've been like, oh my gosh, we're so happy that we got to be a part of that for you this year. Like they love it too.
Yeah.
So, you know, and some years I'm like, should I do it? Like last year, I just felt like it was such a weird time with like pregnancy, like the second half of the year. Like I didn't make as much as I usually make. And then I was like, no, you know what? I think it's important that people do see that there are so many fluctuations in this field.
yeah. And also, what I think is so crazy about this field is you can have like a million followers and make like no
No
money.
money.
You can have like, you know, around our following and kill it. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
like,
And I can give insight into that if you want.
yeah, I would love. Hannah and I have talked about this so much because we have a few friends who I'm like, I don't understand how they don't make money and their content's good. They have good engagement. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so weird.
So there's like a lot of points I can give, but I think like when influencer marketing first came out, we didn't have the tools to measure authenticity really. And now like we really have those tools, and I'm sure you've seen brands asking like, can you send us how much of your following is in the United States? Like how much of your following is here? So like we can use tools now to see demographics of age range, like how many of your followers are between the ages of 18 and 24, that kind of thing. And then we can also see like your engagement rates, and like engagement rate is important, but like someone who has a million followers, like their engagement rate is naturally going to be lower. So it's not the key thing that we look for. I know like back in the day there was that trend of buying followers. Like we can see. We know if you
Mhm.
have. We know there are ways for us to maybe not know definitively, but 50% of your following is in some random country. Like that the brands, it wouldn't make sense for them to partner with you because they're not in that country. So I think like those are things we look for, and that's not to put down anyone who isn't like making a killing, because like they're working their butt off too, but there are some things that we can see on our end like
Mhm.
Yeah.
that would prevent us from working with people. And then there's just an overall fit. Like, you know, Hannah and I have pitched brands that like we think she'd be a great fit for, but they know like in 2025 we're pivoting and we're actually promoting this product over this one, and like the brands know things that we don't when
Mhm.
we're pitching. So
Yeah.
like there's it's very nuanced, but yeah.
That's so interesting. I hate whenever I'm like, oh no, I'd be perfect. Like, what do you mean?
I know that feeling all too well.
Mhm. Yeah, I will say like when brands respond and give you like the time of day and like the answer, that's very nice and appreciated. However,
Mhm.
being on the brand side too, like my last role was at a brand, and those pitch emails, they get exhausting after a while.
Yeah,
We were just
we were
talking.
just talking about this.
So funny. Hannah and I were like would you rather a brand say no, thank you, or would you rather them say nothing? And it was like, I'd rather them say no, thank you. And I'm like, yeah, me too, because it takes up like mental space in your mind. You're like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna respond or what. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and then you keep responding every 2 days to yourself, like being like, "Hey, did you see this? Hey, did
yeah.
you see this?"
Yeah.
I mean, like just
But
from
even
like,
when I was on the brand side, like I barely ever responded to people who I didn't want to work with just because there's so many. And you also like don't want to put like a bad taste in their mouth with the brand and like it just feels risky.
yeah,
But
especially like when your email gets leaked, not leaked, but like when your email gets passed around, like, which is great, do it. I fully support that because we should be helping each other.
mhm.
But then your inbox, like, it would be a full time job if I had responded to every single inbound email that I got.
Yeah,
What do
exactly.
you think a good pitch email should include?
Yes. Okay. Well, first, before we even get there, put your email in your bio. Put your email in your bio. Put your email in your bio. Put
Yeah.
your that and location, honestly.
Mhm.
Like we want to know where you live. Like we want to know if you live in a state that we can't contract with. We want to know that you're in the United States. Like put it your bio is important. Like if I'm on my phone, I can click the email box and get your email.
Mhm.
If I'm on my computer, which 95% of like my profession, like we are on the computer, not our phones. There are a few people who are willing to put in the extra work to go to their phone, get your
Yeah.
email, then put it back in. So put your email in your inbox or in your bio. But as far as like what should be in a pitch email, I would say like a link to your Instagram. Like we're gonna do an initial gut check. Do we like their feed? The link to the what platform you're pitching heaviest, like Instagram, TikTok, both of them. And then the ones that really grabbed my attention were always the ones that like said something out of the box, but not in like a I chat GPT'd this. Use chat GPT. I'm a big fan. We're besties. But like don't copy and paste it. Like go to the brand, spend time. Like Hannah and I spend so much time together pitching brands that like she uses. Like she is using these brands on an everyday basis, or she sees the value of what that brand could add to her life. We're not out here pitching like some handbag company that she's never going to carry in her life and like that her audience wouldn't carry. Like,
Mhm.
so it has to be authentic to you and to the brand. Like they know, they can feel it. They can feel the authenticity. Like they can hop to your profile and see like, yeah, that makes sense for Hannah to pitch to a PCOS brand, a supplement company, that kind of thing. It might not make sense to pitch to a brand with like $1,000 clothes. I don't know, I'm just giving bad examples, but like that kind of thing. So in the email, like something authentic, give an idea. Like give it if you have a concept that you're brewing on, like we pitch a lot of concepts and brands love when you pitch a concept because it's less work for them. They see that you're bought in, they see like, oh, I don't have to explain the brand to them. Like, cool. So yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful. I feel like I always like to keep it kind of short too because nobody's got time to be out here like reading like 4 paragraphs. So like
Yeah.
short, sweet, personal anecdote, Instagram link, TikTok link, like you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. One paragraph, your links.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Oh, that's
And I'm not speaking
awesome.
on behalf of everyone. I don't want to. I don't know. I can
Yeah. It's personal
ask more
opinions
people
here.
that,
That's all
but
right.
personally, yeah. Anecdotally, that is what I was
Mhm.
looking for. Is like short and sweet. One girl, like back when hashtags were a big deal, like she had created like a hashtag and was like, "Here's the hashtag I would use," and
Oh,
like that was
that's cute.
creative. Yeah.
That's really cute. Yeah, be creative. I know all the people who would write me when I was on the other side of things and just be like, I like your clothes and I think I would like to get them for free. I'd be like, okay, like, how are you benefiting me? Like, this
Yeah.
has to benefit the brand for me to like be serious about this. And that's why, honestly, a lot of these don't get responses because it's
Mhm.
like, are you serious? Like, you put no thought into this. Why would I like give you my time of day?
Do you actually read them all? You know what I mean? Like, would you
I
read it?
did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I read all of them. And we're talking, trying to think, like when I was at the brand, I was getting 50 to 100 a day
Oh
some
my
days. I would say per
Wow.
week I was going through 400.
Well,
Dang.
well,
Yeah.
also, what about the follow up emails? Like, would you recommend people follow up or no?
Honestly, yeah, because this is really bad. If you hit me on a day that I haven't had coffee, maybe I'm not in the mood to be doing, like, if you hit me on a day, like, part of this industry is luck. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, you hit somebody on the right day, the right time. Like, don't email on a Monday, don't email on a Friday. Try and hit like a Tuesday, Wednesday if you
Mm-hmm.
can. So I think the follow up is good when someone follows up like 2, 3 times, like shows they're serious, not something annoying, like you didn't respond to me, so I'm emailing you back. Like I had some sassy responses, but just something that's like, hey, I know your inbox is probably full and crazy right now. I'm super passionate about this and want to just make sure that's understood and known. Because again, like maybe I just got out of a meeting where we talked about where we needed to promote a wedding
Mm-hmm.
lingerie, whatever situation. And I look in my inbox and someone just pitched to me, hey, I'm going on a bachelorette trip and I would love to work with you. And I'm like, bachelorette trip, lingerie, what if? And then like that is how that partnership came to be. So I think that following up is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank
Well,
you so much.
yeah, thank you so much for all your insight, Zoe. This has been so fun. I appreciate you coming on. If anyone has questions for you, they can reach out to. Would you prefer Instagram or LinkedIn?
Let's do Instagram. I'm
Okay.
on there a lot more than LinkedIn.
Yeah, I feel. Yeah, we're going to include all of Zoe's info in the show notes so you can reach out to her directly if you have any questions, or you can always hit us up on the Internet Girls Instagram page. You guys know where to find us. We are at Internet Girls Pod. That's girls with a Z on Instagram, TikTok, basically everywhere. You can watch us on YouTube, and we are Hanley Lifestyle and Tori Sunshine. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll be here every Monday with you. And yeah, thank you, Zoe. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys. You are two of my favorite creators out there. So this has been
Oh,
like an honor to be asked to be on here for sure.
oh, we love you. All right. And with that, the Internet Girls